Laura, you can share a bit about them, and I will go ahead and mute myself.
Okay, thank you, Adria. I was gonna record that beautiful short bio of Laura. You know, I was tempted to ask you to repeat that so I could record it. But up to you. Would you like to record that, or I mean, would you like to repeat what you just said about Laura, or should we just get going?
Adria?
Hey, you guys go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, please take it away, Laura.
Well, hi guys. Thank you so much for joining. I'll share, for the purpose of recording, I'll share a little bit about myself. Yeah, so I recently just left the BBC. I was a journalist and producer there for around almost 16 years. Almost made it to 16 years. And I did lots of different things. Broadcast events, the royal wedding, interviewed some amazing people. But during the last sort of year and a half, during the pandemic, actually, I focused my attention to giving a voice to those who wouldn't normally have a voice. So I always found that through my journalistic career that the stories that really left me feeling most fulfilled were those who wouldn't normally have a voice or a platform to share. So whilst it was always amazing to meet such wonderful leaders and high profile people, it was always the people who would probably not, of our paths would never have crossed, and would not normally want to be willing to share themselves with an audience. So that was my huge passion, and the pandemic really brought to light how many people were suffering, and so that was my remit for the last year and a half. And then a couple of weeks ago I decided to it was time for a new challenge and to move on and to branch out and really follow my own passion around sort of impact and meaningful purpose, and sharing stories around philanthropy and environmental and social injustice issues. So, and I met Adria. That's another story which I'll keep for another time, but it's great that she's linked us up, and it's a pleasure to be here and to introduce Jason. So Jason, would you like to tell me who is Jason? I remember meeting you in Dubai not so long ago, and I think I've talked to you about this before, but I was really interested and curious and grateful that the first question you asked me was what's important to you, which just was like, it blew me away a bit, because you really took the time to ask about me and not talk about yourself so much, and it was something that I really remembered. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What's important to you, and who is Jason Ma?
Well, thank you very much, Laura, and for hosting this little fireside chat, and thank you so much for the great idea for doing this, Adria. Very, very briefly, Adria, Lauren, and I met at the Retosa Global Family Office Investment Summit recently in Dubai. We had such a blast. It was a nice party. It was a nice set of connections, and the people were beautiful. And by the way, next to me virtually is my younger daughter, Lydia. She's Gen Z. She's 21. And she's our awesome co-mod. She's the Robin to this Batman and Batwoman. How's that, right? Kind of reminds me of the Harvard Business School Association talk we gave 10 days before she got her early decision admission letter to Wharton a couple of years ago. Now she's a college junior at Penn Wharton. What's important to me? I would say I would prioritize. The family values are important to me, right? Kind of unconditional love, humor, sometimes silly humor, as could be attested by Lydia here. High standards in what matters is very important, and it's where a lot of people get a little bit confused, right? So I like to keep it a little bit open-ended so people have sort of room for improvement, but celebration of things that are important as well. Now, in terms of the strategic priorities of things that are important to me, I would say faith, family and friends, work, my two companies, my tech company, and also my family business 3EQ, as well as philanthropy, community service, fitness and health is very important. Continuous or lifelong learning and education that I encourage of everyone, okay? In fact, the B20, G20, we preach that quite a bit. as well as culinary delights, fine wine, travel, adventure. That's what's important to me.
And
I'll keep it short for now.
that's a long version. So, you know, talk to me about what you do and how your sort of own childhood has led you to doing the work you have done, you're doing today. I guess you came from quite humble beginnings, and I'd just like to be curious if you could share a little bit about that and why you now do what you do.
Absolutely. I've been in industry for 37 years, since my Berkeley engineering or industrial engineering and operations research degree back in 1984, even though I look like I graduated high school, but I'm a bit older than probably most of you. I was in, you know, tech business for a long time. Engineer first, but tech business, North American sales and marketing, international sales and marketing management, managing director for a bunch of tech companies. We all went IPO, got acquired. And so I learned quite a bit. I traveled close to 3 million miles, lost track, Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, Americas. 14 years ago was my new stint into education industry on top of technology, right? Kind of communications, networking, mobile, wireless infrastructure, systems, internet services. And I worked for some pretty interesting companies in the past. So I ran a EdTech education technology company about 14 years ago. But 15 years ago, I started realizing that there's a dearth of next generation leaders. Not that many young people were kind of potentially, you know, sort of, I felt that they were kind of like very untapped in their full potential. I see that all the time, my kids included. Okay, they were young back then. And I started mentoring a lot of kids. My previous company was an education services company, EdTech company. I merged 2 companies to form my previous company. I keep realizing that, oh my God, there are so much opportunity for kids to achieve the outcomes they deserve, become happier, actualize their best selves, to kind of hone their operating system personally, emotionally, and mentally, intellectually, as well as kind of acquire skills and hone those skills, right? So one thing led to another. I just keep on improving. And I got real deep in mentoring, in college counseling. You know, the elite US college counseling or the college planning application admission process is very complex. The US high school and college systems are actually very complex. I even got kids admitted to Oxford, right? Oxford and Cambridge. And I find that trying to get into Ivy League schools or Stanford, MIT, Berkeley, it's a little bit more complex, right? Essays and rec letters and all those storytelling. And I just felt that this is going to be my second career on top of technology. So I started mentoring a lot of kids one-on-one as a co-founder for my previous company, and also a senior college counselor. And I was very much.
Why did you go down that path? Was it because, did you have a mentor in your own sort of family dynamic, or is that something that you felt was missing and that you think was really valuable?
Very good question. Very good sub question, Laura. Yeah, I never had a mentor when I was a teenager and as a 20-something-year-old. And as I was doing what I was doing, I realized, you know, I wish I had someone like me in the past. Rhetorically speaking, of course, I would not change in the world. I would not change it for the world. Otherwise, I would not have Lydia and my younger daughter, right? So I say that rhetorically. And I hear quite a bit from CEO friends, family office friends, and 40, 50, 60-year-olds, right? 30-year-olds. They always say that, oh, I wish I had you when I was young. Some were flippant, but some were serious, because they realized that they could have been here, kind of happier, better relationships, better peace of mind, better outcomes, maybe made another $10, $100 million more, right? With those skills and better direction and all that. So one thing led to another. I just got real motivated, and education, mentoring, life coaching, leadership coaching, career coaching, as well as the complex college counseling for various life stages for people, right? So I guess we're going to talk about the different life stages, kind of middle school, high school, college, university, young adult, middle age, executive family office, principal, CEO, right? I even advise billionaire sometimes. And it's so much fun. It is so much fun,
I guess sort of, sharing, myself, I guess mentors, we look for different people, I guess a bit like friends. You have some friends that you go and have fun with, some that you confide in, and you have others that help you professionally. So I guess you can kind of create your own team and mentor structure around that. So in terms of what you you mentor not just the next gen, you mentor the parents, the family CEOs. And how do you navigate different generations and the fact that some might need a different type of mentoring to, you know, perhaps a CEO might need a different mentoring to a daughter or son, and then how do you bridge kind of what you do to serve everybody, I guess?
Right. Well, first of all, you know, even God cannot satisfy everyone, right? I don't for
Really?
everyone that writes me a check to, I just don't do that. These days I'm pretty selective. Now I would start off by saying that the mentees, whether they are 17 years old, 15 years old, 25, 35, or 55, they got to be coachable, sincere, committed, okay? Resourceful, decisive. If they're not coachable, why bother? Then it's going to be futile, correct? So even though they write me $1 million, I'm rhetorically speaking, right? Then I cannot succeed mentoring them. Now, you know, if it's going to be a high school student or a college university student, like I said, Laura, when I say college is an American, we mean college university, not high school, right? And then I want to assess that they're coachable. And you don't have to be an A+ student. You could be D+ student. I mentored D+ student before for a patriarch that runs a single family office before. I mentored both the boys in high school. Now one's working, one's still in college, I think. And, you know, so then I focus quite a bit on the kid as a mentee, if that's the deal that I have, or that's a partnership that I have with the patriarch. Now, sometimes, occasionally, I do have patriarchs or matriarchs or just kind of a single, you know, middle-aged CEO coming to me and, hey, Rick, I want to become your student, right? So one of my latest students, in fact, is probably someone you know, is a powerful single family office CEO. And she just suddenly raised her hand and say, Jason, I want to be one of your students, right? So I told her, she's very coachable, very sweet. And I had another client who is a CEO, you know, 53-year-old investor as well. But the vast majority of mentees I've had are actually kids, Gen Z kids, high school kids, college kids. And it's very delicious because they're more malleable, they're more moldable, right? Then I could kind of mold them more. I always encourage parents to bring them in early, so give me more time to mold them, because I cannot stuff a young 15-year-old Laura Hearn into a microwave oven.
Yeah, I come with experiences and
comes in.
Yeah, I mean, you have more of a blank canvas for sure.
That's right.
How would you describe, I mean, 3EQ? Talk to me about that, because it's not just about, you try and build up the emotional resilience, not just the intellectual resilience and foundation, correct?
Correct. I'm sure all of you, you know, have lived or heard about, you know, EQ, right? Emotional intelligence, emotional quotient. To me, just EQ is kind of wimpy, honestly speaking. I intentionally, when I founded my family business 3EQ, I named it 3EQ instead of EQ. It stands for emotional, social, and leadership intelligence. The word does not exist yet in the dictionary, but emotion, let's kind of dissect that, okay? Emotion is an instant manifestation of your belief system, of your beliefs, so rules in your brain, right? Global if-then rules, and your self-talk, your thoughts, and then your physiology. You have to keep honing all those. And if you have a lot of drugs, a lot of booze, your state's gonna be different, correct? Then that's your emotion. Your state is really emotional, caused by physiological and also logic through from your head to toe, okay? And that's emotion. The worst emotion is like suicide. The next worst is like depression. The best emotion is what I call peak state or God state. It's like you're just flowing, right? It's like, man, it's very, very powerful and you're joyful at the same time. Part of what I do is to keep guiding my students or mentees to spend more time in peak state or high performing state, not the middle states. Because you got like suicide or murderer, serial killer, your depression, and then kind of, you know, anxiety, worry, you know, and then these middle states that are so-so, right? Mediocre, and then high performing and peak state. So it's all honeable. That's emotion for you, internal and also external. I like the word social. I like to lift it out. Is that, you know, that's compassionate leadership. Okay, social is collaboration, teamwork, people skills, right? It's like now we are socializing. We're sort of like almost like fellowship at the same time. You know, brotherhood, sisterhood, that's so much fun, right? You have to communicate real well. And then leadership overall is holistic. And, you know, it's holistic, right? Leadership takes so much more. It's not easy to be a good leader. You know, you run a company, run a family office, run a family. Or you could be, as a kid, I joke with them that you could be doing dishes for your mother every single night as a hobby. And that's leadership, because you're influencing, helping the other people, and you're also inspiring the other person at the same time. And as a leader, I like to groom, young leaders. I say that quite a bit, next gen leaders, because as a leader, it's more impactful. You can end up making more money. How cool is that? That's 3EQ for you.
Okay. So like now I want to get into some tricky bits. So how do you navigate difficulties? I've got so many questions around this. Now you've kind of established what you do. For one, what if success to me personally is not like how many dollars or pound coins you have in the bank? It's, are you a successful human being? Are you, wealth is not, are you a rich human? So moving on to that, what if someone comes to you, like a daughter or son, and says to their parent, I don't want to go to Harvard. I don't want to go to Berkeley. I don't want to go to Cambridge. I'm happy being, just me. But the parent is like, no, I want to push you. I want you to, be this high achiever. How do you work around that if, the daughter or son doesn't want to follow the path of the family office? Or do you think that you just let them continue on their path, or do you think perhaps they don't know what they don't know? And perhaps if they saw a different opportunity, they might take that. I mean, how does that work?
Let's say if I get inserted in that equation, and I feel that both the next gen, the children, right? The children could be teenagers, could be 45-year-olds, right? And then the matriarch, patriarch, and then they're all coachable, they're sincere. I will not hesitate from my almost like a fiduciary duty. Okay, I have to be very honest with them, but in a very loving way, because I want the best for them with love. That's what I do, right? As a third party, trusted chief mentor, if you will. I'm brought in as a chief mentor all the time. Your parents could be filthy rich, could be a Fortune 100 CEO, et cetera. I mean, I got those clients, right? And if I see that the thing's not working, if you're going to keep on kind of executing based on those values and based on the conflict, then you're going to suffer with relationship. Your kid's going to end up hating you. Your kid's not going to do it. Okay, it's not sincere. It's not a genuine pathway. Then I have to kind of communicate, persuade, inspire, and love the parents to kind of tone it down, or to kind of come closer where there's an alignment. Okay, and it does not have I'll give you one example. One kid, he was in high school. Okay, literally was a D+ student, dog plus. That's pretty bad, right? Failing grade back in freshman year in high school, I think, right? And I started coaching him, and I realized that the kid is actually intelligent. I could tell, because I could assess people pretty quickly, right? And that I could meet a stranger and people tell me secrets all the time, right? And I feel that, but he was coachable. I feel that he was actually very intelligent. And I learned that he's got very bad habits, hanging out with the wrong people, wasting time playing video games. There's nothing wrong with video games. Right? In fact, there's some critical thinking to that. It's just that when you get so addicted, you overspend time every single day, then you lose track on what's important, like doing homework, like hanging on homework and learning and prep test and really learning and taking tests. Those are important to you, right? And then 2 years later, convert from D+ to be a B+ boy+ student. That's awesome. And then keep on improving and got into one of the top tier UC campuses. That's really
a good example. What about someone, a youngster who it doesn't work very well around tests, and it feels a lot of pressure, but they're actually very creative. Do you try and channel what they're positive, what they're good at, and focus on that?
There are a couple of scenarios. One scenario is that the parents are a bit more open, kind of let the kid flourish based on their real thing, right? And then there are on the other side of the spectrum is that there are those tiger parents, right? That no matter what, they want a kid to go to Harvard. Stanford.
Yeah, I know those.
I know it's impossible for you to go there. Then I have to make sure, okay, guys, here's the reality. That things don't work like that. Okay? Then they listen to me. I'm the authority, right? Now, what I do all the time is that I come in where you're at right now.
So I guess you're like a hostage negotiator.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot more positive and inspiring, practical at the same time, and strategic too, right? Then I would realize where the kids' strengths are, that I could tell the basis, and what the weaknesses are, and identify a visionary direction or a visionary story and I'll talk about 4S later, my mentorship framework, and kind of channel them towards a direction that maybe a pivot here, but it's still congruent with what's in your heart, right? Then instead of being a beautiful, very talented artist doing $5 per painting in Times Square in New York City, where you make no money, why don't you channel it where you're really kind of drilling on your passion and growing, and also economically be rewarded at the same time, right? You know, it's like practical both ways. It's like holistic, but also economically congruent, connected, not disconnected. And then the parents are far less worried or happy. Right? We'll talk about succession planning later, because there's tricks to the trade where indirectly you arrive, different paths towards Rome, and Rome is a beautiful place. Does it make sense to you?
Sure. So what do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing the next gen? I mean, I guess the pandemic has thrown up some. There are a lot of mental health challenges and social media that you have to navigate, which throw up a lot of problems and also opportunities. But what are some of the biggest challenges that you have realized in sort of perhaps the last 5 years?
Absolutely. I call it. I sit in Silicon Valley, right? I've been a stalwart for a long time. I've been there for 47 years, since I was in middle school. And I've seen Silicon Valley grow from yellow lilies all over to tons of powerful companies. Dark side of technology, temptations, distractions. And it's, you have to, that's why kids and also a lot of adults need mentorship. I'm not kidding you, okay? When you talk to Sundar Pichai, the Google Alphabet CEO. You talk to Steve Jobs when he's alive. You talk to Sheryl Sandberg. You talk to a bunch of powerful CEOs and powerful senior executives. A lot of them actually had coaches and mentors. They're very high quality. One powerful coach and mentor, his name was Bill Campbell. He passed when he was 75. And there's a book called The $1 Trillion Coach, right? Co-written by Eric Schmidt, the former chairman CEO of Google, and written by Jonathan Rosenberg, my good friend. He was a former senior vice president of products. He knows Lydia as well. We all use his products, right? A very influential guy, plus another Googler. And talks about all these CEOs and executives admitted that without Bill Campbell's coaching and mentorship and love and tough love, I mean, he would give them tough love sometimes, because these CEOs, right, just want to be maximized. They admitted that I would never be where I'm at right now, not even close.
I mean, we can't live without tech, that's how we're all able to be on here together right now, and it bridges communities, but it can also be difficult. So how do the younger generation navigate that?
So part of that is that these are very powerful tech CEOs, right? But they realize that they need the soft side, that mentorship, and they learned or got mentored to discern what is real good work, proper work, or what's really distractions. Okay. I could guarantee you a lot of powerful CEOs in tech in Silicon Valley, they do not allow the kids to use their technologies for quite a while. Especially little kids to middle school, maybe up to high school, then they have a cell phone. Some kids in middle school, they have a cell phone, because they know that kids that are not well guided, then they're gonna, if you ask a middle school kid, hey, why don't you go find your passion? First of all, you cannot find your passion. You have to develop your passion. Okay, the boy is going to go, okay, I'm going to play games all the time, maybe watch some pornography, and then kind of waste time hanging out with the other kids here, and ended up kind of honing down, not honing up his or her personal operating system, where the girls would text over text, and that's all they do, right? You don't want that. So those are very, very challenging. I call it the dark side of technology. I mean, you know that a lot of social media, the algorithms are, frankly speaking, some companies got like probably dozens of PhDs in psychology, et cetera, helping them kind of data analysis, kind of honing the algorithms all the time to addict you, keep you addicted, have you pay attention to them. But that sucks your focus on other things.
But there is a way you can, I always feel that you can curate your own network, and as much as you want to find the right people to be your running mates, you can do that on social media, for sure. So I guess it's like, showing that there is
good side and bad side. Exactly. Just to be discerning and make sure not to get sucked in on the bad side, and leverage on the good side.
And have you worked with children or young people with sort of special educational needs? Is that a challenge that you've had to work around?
Honestly speaking, those kids, I feel for them, and I'm also a council member, advisory council member for St. Jude. You know, St. Jude is the biggest healthcare charity in the nation, right? In the United States, like $1 to $2 billion operating expenditure, OPEX, and which just got out from the Napa in the inspiration for a celebration charity event. That was spectacular, and there's some, you know, special children, right? Cancer and all that. And then mentally special needs children, admittedly, I'm not that good in mentoring these subsets of all the children. I wish I'm better. I'm better mentoring the achievers or the high achievers, from teenagers all the way to, you know, 59 years old. That's my strength. So one part about leadership is that you got to be very honest about what I'm weak in, you know, what we're weak in, right? Then delegate or ask someone else to do it for you, or hire people better than you that are strong in the functional area of need. Make sure they're better than you, and then you can delegate, right? But they have to stick with your vision.
And that's something I really appreciate, that you shared that. You could have sat there and said, oh yeah, but you were very honest, and yeah. So I really appreciate that. So where do you see the next generation? What do you see the world where they're going to be working, engaging? Do you think it's tech? Do you think that's the biggest industry that the next gen will be working in?
Well, you know, the one thing about tech, even a lot of the traditional non-tech big companies, a lot of them call themselves tech companies now. They have to go e-commerce. They have to kind of go online. They will leverage on tech, or maybe kind of really work with some suppliers, right, to kind of make sure the business is not going to crater 5 years from now. Because tech is moving, there's like all sorts of verticals and horizontal, right, problem to solve, et cetera here. And absolutely, Lydia could tell you, you know, it's like your technology, certainly a lot of kids are kind of more and more into tech. Part of it is that economically is more rewarding, right? You got maybe, you know, even stock options, restricted stock units. And if you work for a great tech company, they actually pay you more, honestly speaking. And a fraction of those kids, when I say kids, it could be 20-something-year-old and 30-something-year-old, right? I call them kids as well. You know, some of them, a few of them might decide to kind of go into the family business or family office. Some of them would like to stick with tech and keep building. A few of them would drop out of a bigger company or medium size and then kind of start their own companies. It's quite normal. Tech is so powerful. Both my daughters are into tech, but it does not mean that you have to. You know, if what's gonna be most reaching into your potential, you feel that that's your calling and that's what your creator wants you to do, then kind of do something non-tech, so that you don't have to be. But the trend.
I was just curious as to know what from someone who's probably, you know, more of a millennial, what you felt that the
Gen Zs and millennials are a little bit different too, by the way, in their characteristics. So,
do you want to just give us a brief outline of 4S? These acronyms.
Yes. Yeah, people go, no, what is 4S? Right. That's my mentorship framework. I've been doing success coaching, mentoring, applied research, speaking, writing for about 25,000 hours, right, within the last 14 years in my 37 years in industry. And I've learned from pattern recognition that, man, that mentorship framework really works. So when I mentor a student, whether you are a teenager or 35-year-old or 55-year-old, I go straight into honing your 4S, right? That means your visionary story or your belief system. And then your state of mind management, emotional, intellectual, you know, spiritual, if you will, right? And your soft skills, set of soft skills, and then strategies and execution. Now, I'm sure that in different life stages, you know, people's got different goals, what's important to them based on their life stage, correct? Like, for example, for Laura, for you and I, you're younger than me. You're probably 1,000 years younger than me. But we are working professionals, whatever, correct? Would it be correct?
You call it a stage, I call it a story. I'm in a different chapter of my story than you are.
But would it be correct for me to say that you and I care about career, business, personal success, you know? Yeah, maybe family success, I mean, your extended family in different ways, right? For family success as well. That's when you're working. You're no more college, university, grad school, correct? Done. I'm working, man. I'm spending the next 80 years working. Like for me, I'm not going to retire. Why retire? I love what I do. I retire when I'm 110, 6 foot under. That's when I retire, correct? And I just saw a lady at 105 years old wearing a marathon thing. Of course, she did not do the marathon, but it was like semi-running. It's like, they're very inspirational to me, American lady, right? And, you know, so visionary story, belief system, state of mind management, strategies and execution, and soft skills. I hone my students. And when I first, let's say the first session that we signed, first session, right? Then the first thing I do is to kind of get to know you real well. If you're still in school, then academically and non-academically, you know, school year, summers and test prep, and kind of get real deep. And routinely, I get to know my students more than the parents know them. I get to know some of the older students more than a spouse knows them. Because very quickly, I discover secrets. I discover what's in the mind, heart, and soul, and identify certain areas. Because a jar, you cannot really read your own label, right? Even I had mentors and coaches in the past. I do a better job than the coaches, but they could read me better. They could tell me what I need to improve on, and then kind of then I go through that process. Yeah,
you build up a trust.
Yeah. So honing that is kind of like my critically acclaimed book, Young Leaders 3.0. The epilogue is very beefy, right? Success pattern seen, concluding actionable advice, and I kind of wrote 2 pages about the 4S, a little bit. I didn't say just use the word 4S, but your belief system, and then your mindset. It's kind of like your personal operating system. Your skill sets is kind of like your apps, right? You know, because if you beef up your operating system, and sometimes it kind of upgrades, right? Then it's more reliable, more secure, better features, faster. Same thing with the human mind, isn't it? Then your apps in your device, imagine your apps in your device, right? You download new apps, like acquire new skills. Then those skills improve, get more reliable, faster.
Sometimes you need to take a break from downloading and just have some fun and switch off. Otherwise you become on overload, right?
And sometimes
the iPhone crashes.
Sometimes you have to delete some apps because those are bad skills, correct? Then you keep honing all that. And it's kind of like an investment. Then you compound over time. Imagine if we do it earlier, then it compound over time, then it's exponential in terms of a power of your achievements with joy and peace, you see? And I see that all the time. So I'm very big on 4S, no matter what age you are, horizontal.
Share a story of a case study or something where you know, what has been someone who said, you know, like the most memorable case study of someone that you was really struggling, but you've helped them to, you know, become a success in their mind and everyone else's mind.
There are, you know, no matter how.
What is there one that stands out, or several? Or
there are so many. Oh my gosh, my daughter here, for example. Okay, I'll tell you a funny story. She's 20. She's 21 now, a college senior at Wharton. Excuse me, I'm a pretty excited person, passionate, as you can see, right? Choked a little bit drinking my.
That's what you do to him, Lydia.
Pot of milk. And when Lydia, look at it. When she was 11 years old, 10 years ago, one of the Forbes articles I wrote for Forbes. I wrote about the elite college admissions, leadership, entrepreneurship, higher education, a bit of mentorship as well. And I got like one of their star contributors in the past. And you know, the title of the article was "Why to Start Preparing for College in 6th Grade." Not my headline. It was managing editor's headline. He's real good with catchy headlines, right? So it's like, Jason, replace that boring headline with this catchy headline. And now in that article, I intentionally did not write about academics. It's obvious, correct? It's a school kid. But I wrote about habits. And I threw in my daughters, my older daughter's 3 years older. She's 4 years older in grade than Lydia. She's 24 now, Sabrina. And, you know, for Lydia, I discovered that back when she was 11 years old, she had a bad habit. And that's device addiction. Remember that, honey? Social media addiction. She was overspending time on social media, iPad, and whatever. And I said, okay, it's not working. My wife and I had a deal that when she became 13, I'll take her on as my student, my father first, she second. And I said, honey, it's not working. And then she tells me, yeah, honey, put her into your schedule. Start doing your one-on-one magic with her. And I along the way, you start with lots of love. Without that deep love that the kid feels, it's not going to work, right? Then it feels like nagging that the kid's going to fight. You see it all the time.
They're never going to do it,
And they're going to, I could tell you a lot of horror stories if you like to. Not my students, not my clients, okay? And over time, then I made a deal with Lydia. I used a bit of there's like many, hundreds of tactics based on the situation, right? It's all circumstantial, it's all personalized for the kid. Then I applied a private boarding school strategy with her. Then I said, honey, you have to make a deal with me that limit your device usage to 10 hours instead of whatever dozens of hours per week you do, correct? We made a deal, she tracked it. I said, if you exceed that, honey, then something's going to be taken away from you. I done it in a very loving way, correct? And so other things as well. Over time, keep honing that habit. Character is a sum of all habits. Remember this, folks. Character is a sum of all habits. We have to keep honing our character. Most important thing. One of the most important things. So over time, she converted a weakness to be a neutral, and then neutral to be a strength. Now her ability to focus is like a super strength. Oh my God, it's amazing watching her and a bunch of my high achieving students. The ability for them to focus despite all the distraction, it seems to be like parallel processing, but your brain is a single chip brain. It's not a multi-chip brain, okay? Yeah. You're really flipping between focusing on one thing, but they're so fast, you're flipping around.
Lydia, I'm gonna ask you a question. How was it to be a student of your dad's?
It was as you would expect.
What's the humor?
It wasn't always easy, and for a while it was hard for me to see the reason for his guidance and mentorship. Like, why can't I just watch TV? Why can't I just go on
TikTok?
Yeah, but I mean, looking back, like almost a decade later, I can definitely say that it was for a really good reason, and it's helped me cultivate a lot of good habits that I've brought with me to even today. So not easy, but definitely worth it.
Well, that's great to hear. It's good to hear from the his mouth, as it were. So before we go into a bit of Q&A, I just like to throw in a bit of a curveball. So Jason, tell me something. When was the last time you did something out of your comfort zone?
All the time. I'm growing all the time. I'm very humble, but also aggressive as a lifelong learner. And I don't hesitate if I feel guided by my creator. Okay, I don't hesitate these days, especially with age and experience comes wisdom. And then with wisdom and other resources come power, if you will, right? So to kind of channel those influence in right ways here. And so I would say that I don't hesitate to challenge myself to keep trailblazing new grounds in learning, in acquiring the right know-how in various facets of my life, at work and family, and kind of shepherding and kind of stewarding my family and other business, constituencies, if you will, people that are important to me.
When was the last time you felt uncomfortable and you thought, oh, this is not something I massively want to do, but I'm so glad I did it in the end?
Maybe because I've been honing what I do, so I apply what I teach, right? Things seem to be not that difficult for me, even though it might appear to be very challenging with people.
Maybe an emotional experience or?
Emotional, I would say, yeah, sometimes, when you get into conflict, for example, arguing with a spouse, that happens sometimes, but these days it happens much less than before. And part of that is really because of my faith and because of my continuously upgraded 4S and 3EQ, pragmatic 3EQ, pragmatic, emotional, social, leadership, intelligence. It's kind of like being generous. Like Adria is totally awesome when it comes to generosity and giving, right? So I guess one trait that Adria and I have is that we really believe in sincere giving. Philanthropy, for example, could be from your time, skills, connection, money, or a combination, correct? For a real good cause. And giving
without expectation.
giving a lot of expectation, and you really love others. You love your virtual neighbors worldwide. That's very important. And loving your creator. And that gives me a lot of peace and joy. You know, I do it, I channel the same thing to my high school students, to my college students, to my young adult students, to my CEO students, based on a life stage. So for example, for high school students, their parents and them typically care most about their college admissions. When it comes to college university students, they care a lot about their career path, first job, activity, academic, boyfriend, girlfriend, not to get us stressed out, anxiety filled in college. Very common, by the way, in college and university. And then when it comes to young adults, then it's about their career, business, personal success. Once you have a family, add the family part as well, and kind of keep taking it to the next level for the achievers, that is, right? But for the nonchalants, for the ones that are not coachable, persistently resistant and lazy, I cannot really help them. Maybe I'll try to inspire them in a more general setting. So overall, I would say my struggles are seeing so much untapped, undertapped potential in people everywhere in the world. And that gives me some discomfort, you know. I keep asking.
It also gives you motivation.
I'm sorry?
It's also a motivation to continue doing what you do.
I feel that I'm barely tapped into helping the world, man. You know, it's like there's so much growth ahead in me, I'm sure for all of us here. There's so much growth. That's the good news.
And what do you do for fun? I did watch a video of you where you talked about that their fun does happen in the mafia family. I'm not sure whether it's Lydia or Sabrina that coined that term, but how important is fun amongst all of this, you know, tests and academia?
Hey, dude, or do that, right? You know, my family values, okay, infinite love, humor, high standards of matters. That's where the humor part comes in. She knows that. I'm the factory of bad jokes at home.
Dad joke.
Family is fun. We hang out all the time. Lydia just got back from Philadelphia last night, by the way. Flew back red eye. She barely had sleep last night. We arrived back home at 2 a.m. in the morning. We woke up at 7-ish Pacific time. And so we cannot wait until we hang out, Thanksgiving celebration, and then Friday spend time in Half Moon Bay. I enjoy fine food, culinary delights. I love to eat, okay, but I stay healthy and fitness as well. Fine wine, some hot liquor even, right? Enjoy. One date that we're gonna have, honey, is we're gonna watch Godfather 2 all together with my kids with me for the first time drinking hot liquor.
That sounds awesome.
That's fun. Sightseeing. I love to, you know, I enjoy traveling. I travel close to 3 million miles across Asia Pacific and Europe, the Middle East, and Americas, right? I cannot wait until I take my family to some exotic places. There's so much to do in a very fun way, you see. And just really enjoy human relationships. I think, Laura, one takeaway here for all of us is that, you know, besides, you know, accomplishing, like for a lot of the people here is, you know, you're wealthy, right? You know, family, office, families, etc. Besides wealth preservation, wealth accumulation, including cutting taxes, etc., the most important thing, honestly speaking, and besides your business accomplishments, right? You know, that's important if you do well by doing good, not a criminal, is really keep building our character.
Yeah.
Okay? That you can imagine God would give you a thumbs up on your character. No one's perfect. We all kind of.
I always just say, just be a nice human.
Just be a nice human.
Correct? That hard, right?
Some of our habits, right? No one's perfect. I'm flawed still. I still got my imperfections, but I know what they are. But I'm conscious.
I think perfect. That word perfect is redundant.
Yeah, character, right? And then the second thing is really relationships. Relationships with the creator. Relationship with people around you. That's important. Imagine you're worth say $100 million. But you're in a hospital, you know that you're going to go pretty soon. Imagine those people around you physically, then who would they be? Okay. I mean, there are some miserable billionaires out there, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you can be very alone.
Out there. So the relationships is because you give love, then people love you back. It is what it is. That's just human beings for you. So those are important to me. I think myself personally honing towards that while encouraging, inspiring, teaching, you know, mentoring others to do something similar, it's very important to me. That gives me a lot of pleasure, actually.
Okay. Well, should we share some love and open it up to anybody who would like to ask Jason a question, or you can put it in the group chat, or I think Lydia is being a great Q&A audience answer. Ask. Is there anyone here who would like to ask a question?
Or even ask Lydia.
Let me check.
Oh, there's quite a bit of chats, huh?
I know. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask? Or anything that they'd like to Jason to cover or to know about?
This is Christina. I'm not putting my camera on because I'm just trying to do a bunch of stuff, but I'm the one that worked with the astronauts.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Jason, I know that you did that St. Jude's thing, and Cyan Proctor is there, so I'm working really closely with her now. And so it's nice to just hear your story and actually hear, you know, what you're passionate about. Because I think what's really neat about these Zooms that Adria puts together is, you know, she's just got such a generous spirit of trying to bring people together for good. And I personally am just really grateful for all of her efforts, but also to even be connected to other people who have these kind of purpose. So I just wanted to say it was wonderful to hear about what you're passionate about and the things that you're trying to do. And hopefully there's an opportunity for us to collaborate in some way, because I'm very passionate about space for a better world. So, and I've got to jump off because I've got more Zooms coming up, but I just wanted to say it was really nice to hear your story, and hopefully at some point we'll have a chance to meet.
Sure, thank you, Christina. That event at Napa, that St. Jude Inspiration for celebration in Napa, that was totally awesome. I mean, first of all, the cause is great, right? St. Jude, that's philanthropy. A lot of us here care about philanthropy, correct? You know, it's really kind of helping, you know, kind of finding cures, helping children. How cool is that? And you guys could tell that I love kids, and that really touches my heart. And meeting 3 of the 4 astronauts, I did not meet Chris. I met Jared. I met Haley. I met you know,
Cyan. Yeah.
And we had so much fun. Great, beautiful, deep conversations. Part of my fun, Laura, I enjoy my own hobby is that I really, really enjoy deep, meaningful conversations. The older I get, I just don't have time for superficial.
Yeah, small talk. Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. Thank you, Christina, so much.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, thank you. I've got to run, but hopefully we can connect another time. And thank you, Adria, for putting this together.
You know, I would ask Lydia to share some of her, say, you know, takeaways, learning experience, reflections. Reflecting with humility is pretty important, right? Some vulnerability is fine as well. You know, about your high school and then your college experiences. You know, would you like to spend a minute on that, or?
Sure. How to sum up the past 8 years of my life is kind of big question, but I'll do my best. I think high school was academically a lot to do. Like, you know, I was the classic trying to get as many APs in the docket as possible. So definitely a lot of learning with regard to how to study, how to do good on exams, how to balance time with that and extracurriculars. But I think that coupled with like things like sports and clubs helped develop the foundational, you know, like work ethic that has helped me survive in college. And I mean, beyond academics, I think it was definitely a lot of soul searching. I think a lot of times I was trying to figure out who I was or who I wanted to be in the next foreseeable like future. I think that's something that I'm still trying to answer today, but I think I define high school as me coming to terms with this question for the very first time in my life. And I think along the way, I've been able to meet a lot of really cool people. I've been able to go through like some hardships, but even though like recognizing that, you know, a lot of people probably have like harder hardships. So like those, and just trying to like build that resilience every time I fell down. You know, high school and college, I would argue, are some of the most formative years of my life, at least, you know, just balancing so many new priorities. But I think they have allowed me to grow a lot as an individual. both like professionally and emotionally, and with regard to those I interact with, and also like my relationship with myself. So I think I will definitely, like, high school and college are so weird. Like, it's so weird. But I would say that I wouldn't change a thing. And I've learned a lot. And I think that's the most important part.
I can relate to some of that. I think it's so hard when someone says to you, there's a lot of pressure when you're 17, 18. They're like, well, what do you want to do? And you're like, what if you don't know what you want to do? But also what you want to do maybe at 17 might not be what you want to do at 35, right? And so I think you can be multiple people and multiple things at any one time, and every experience in your life just adds another layer of learning and understanding. So I think no experience is lost, even if perhaps you trained into be, I kind of wished I'd been a vet, really, an equine vet, but that wasn't my path. But I have it, I engage in horses in another way. But, there's a lot of pressure. But for me, definitely, I can relate that going to, I think we call it university, it was not just about gaining a degree. It was just as much, if not more important, about growing my confidence and learning where I fit in or don't fit in, or accepting myself and meeting people and broadening my horizons. And that's what travel also does for you, and being immersed in different cultures and seeing people through a different lens or understanding their perspective, I think is invaluable. And so I think education is not just about, passing the exam, but it's about becoming a more rounded human being.
I'll chime in on that. And, remember 3EQ, pragmatic. I like the word pragmatic because it means results oriented and practical in one word, right? Emotional, social, leadership, intelligence. So what you touch on is really the social part. That college 4-year experience is it's just invaluable, building that relationship, social. A lot of them is going to be lifelong friends, not to mention alumni network, okay? For top schools is really awesome, the Wharton network. By the way, on Lydia, she's going to be a Salesforce, a Slack, a software engineer.
I use Salesforce.
She accepted an offer a couple of months ago, and she's not even majoring in computer science. She's just minoring in computer science, but double concentrating in finance and in business analytics. But she really want to jump into programming and kind of build that foundation. But I kind of see as a visionary direction that she's being humble right now, lacks sleep. But this kid could be a powerful tech CEO in the future. I kind of see that, long term. And one thing about visionary direction is something that you really believe in. It's something that I instill, that sometimes kids, even adults, are not clear what the direction is. You hear that all the time. But once your direction is clarified, it really feels right to you emotionally and logically. Man, 50% of your problem is solved, right? Then a pathway is far clearer. And she's she's super in communication, Lydia. My older daughter, she's a Google software engineer. 4th year, they got big promotion, making big bucks, making small fraction of top 0.1%. She's more the kind of a potential propeller type, right? CTO type, more creative, etc. So each person is different. That you channel their strengths, right, and kind of work on the weaknesses towards that direction, towards that visionary story, while you hone your state of mind management, your different strategies, right? Like if you're in college, then your strategies would include academics, activities, boyfriend, girlfriend, your social, kind of your first job, career, right? There's different strategies that are relevant to you that are often interconnected. Without doing A, B, you kind of get to D. Sometimes you just go around and kind of, it's all mesh critical thinking, right? So when it comes to soft skills, I'm very big on critical thinking, strategic thinking, a bit of creativity, communication, your self-talk, one-on-one conversation, Socratic, public speaking, writing. You learn a lot about second, third party kind of expository writing from school, but first person essay writing, that's where things are so data right now is very important. Listening skills, public speaking, those are very important skills. And then finally, the collaboration, the 4 C's, right? So your 4 C, critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, teamwork, social. Then you keep honing that. And over time, Lydia, Sabrina, and a bunch of my high achieving students, I assure you, they will rise up the ranks much faster than even their driven peers. I see that all the time. And they are happy and compassionate. I guess what I'm most proud of, I don't like to use the word proud anymore. I would say what I'm most grateful and inspired about these days is that a lot of my students, right, including my own daughters, is that they have become happy and compassionate leaders or young leaders. Happy and compassionate. Those are two key words.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I think, we've got a minute left. If anybody has any other questions, then shout them out now. Would anyone like to ask anything? Well, I think I've taken a few key takeaways. I think for me, I think the value of having a mentor and having someone who can hold your hand and guide you is incredible. I think it's important to have fun. This is what I've understood from you. Make sure you have fun, and to really, like, leadership is something that we can all be a leader in, but for sure having the right teammates around you to help you nurture and build which path you want to run down is really important. So thank you so much, Jason. I think the work you're doing is incredible, and Lydia is she obviously still have a great relationship with her despite you mentoring her, so I think that's testament to the work you're doing. It's been a great pleasure to chat with you today.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. You've done a great job, and your storied career at BBC in the past as a journalist, reporter, storyteller, and producer. So my hat's off to you as well. And talking about the fun part, I think Adria and I and some of us are going to be partying in Miami.
Yeah, I'm going to miss that.
Pre-Art Basel, and I'm going to go to a family office conference, and we're going to have a bunch of our private group parties. So we look forward to that. That's fun.
You can share your fun on the WhatsApp groups for those who can't participate.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye.